And welcome back to Zanpakuto Theory video. You can tell we're starting to run out of gas in the tank here, folks. Because we went over Nanao's last week, which was actually a fun video to talk about because it brought up the whole concept of the whole clan Zanpakuto and how that works compared to a normal one. That was a fun video to actually do. Now now you can tell we're really starting to run on fumes just a little bit, because we're now with the non-canon characters, Zanpakutos, and Maki Ichinose, or Ichinose, I can't remember how I think it's Ichinose, at least that's how it's spelled, Ichinose, so Ichinose. Anyway. And what is his Bankai? What is the Bankai of, and I'm going to see if I can pronounce this one correctly, Nijigasume. What is Nijigasume's Bankai? Now, first and foremost, if you're not someone who cared at all about the filler arcs of Bleach, to be fair, doesn't always have the best ones. I'll say this though, there aren't anywhere near as many filler arcs in Bleach as there are, say, for like a Naruto or a One Piece or something like that. So in that regard, it's not. In fact, some of their filler arcs are actually quite entertaining. Like I think the Regai and the Zanpakuto filler arc is actually pretty solid. Those two are actually, I think, pretty solid. The Bount arc, which is where he comes from, and what was it? What was the name of it? Basically with the Baibatos, the parasitic swords that did stuff, and dealing with this princess and a new third division captain who turned out to be evil. I cannot remember the name of that for the life of me. It was kind of named after the captain, the character, the bad guy. It was named after him. Either way, those ones were not so good. No, but he comes from the Bount arc, and essentially he was a 11th Division Soul Reaper. Was he a former lieutenant? That's a good question. A former member of the 11th Division, not necessarily a former lieutenant. Okay, so he served under the previous Kenpachi, basically the Kenpachi that Zaraki killed to get his seat. And because of what happened, because he just didn't agree with Zaraki's ways, he believed in like peace and justice and all that stuff, and but he defected, went with the villains to get revenge on the Soul Society, and then ultimately fought Kenpachi and got his ass ever-loving whooped. So, he was a character that, admittedly, he was a cool character in some regard. Like, his design is pretty simple, but, like, I love the fact that his Soul Reaper outfit had a hood on it. That was actually pretty cool. We don't see him with the hood on too often, mind you, but he's still, it's still cool, device. And, I mean, he looks like a guy who, if he were a canon character, would be a pretty badass character in some regard. He looks kind of like a Shuei type character in many ways. So with that being said, his Zanpakuto Nijigasume, which translates roughly speaking into Rainbow Mist, its Shikai activation is Flicker and with Splendor or Flash and Burst, depending on the. That's actually two very different things right there. Flash and Burst is very different than Flicker with Splendor. Either way, and essentially, it's a Keto based type. Unlike most 11th Division members, his is a Keto based type. Which, to be fair, we don't know if the unspoken rule of just having melee type Zanpakutos was implemented with Zaraki's reign, or if it was always a staple of the 11th Division. I don't know when that happened. I don't think it's ever said. But it's very likely that it's something that may have actually been implemented with Zaraki's tenure. Because it seems as though Kenpachi Ginjo, the previous Kenpachi, has similar mindset to someone like Tozen, and in fact, Tozen even commented on that too, at least in the anime. That he it's unfortunate that he died. He had a similar mindset to me. Well, oddly enough, still liking a good fight. Figure that out. So it's possible that this rule got implemented with Kenpachi's tenure. But essentially, what it does is it's drenched with the spiritual energy, which is able to create limitless amounts of light. Nijigasumi shines; it melds with all other light. When it's released, it can use that light to take control of the shadows, attack its opponents with them. The blade of Nijigasumi is invisible until he makes an attack on his opponent. Nijigasumi's ability also allows him to manipulate light with various other effects, including making him, Maki, invisible. Blinding light, basically creating a large amount of light that disrupts an opponent's perception. Create illusions. The light from released from Nijigasumi rains over the dimensions that surround the opponent and alters them, thus creating alternate dimensions of light. His ability is to use light to alter others' perceptions, allowing them to make his opponent see what he wants them to see. He can also make a blade of light, dissolving the actual blade and replace it with a blade made of pure light. If the blade is broken, it can completely cover it. It can completely cover it to allow the battle to continue. That makes no sense. I get it. If the blade is broken, the light can cover the blade to continue fighting. Basically, a blade of light. He can also create blades of light separate from his Zanpakuto, use them as projectiles to fire at his enemies. This is shown when he attacks Kenpachi, blinds Kenpachi. It looks like basically blasts of like black energy that are hitting Kenpachi. He just doesn't do anything against Kenpachi. Last but not least, his final ability in his Shikai, which actually has a name, is Saigyoku Nijigasumi, or Colorful Gem of Rainbow Mist, which frankly sounds like it should be Bankai name, but whatever. Causes a multitude of twirling lights to appear, which then form together around an opponent, creating a huge sphere which engulfs everything with a significant radius. Anyone within the radius will potentially get caught in it. Immediately following that, the sphere collapses in on itself, using the compressed light to crush everything within it. Only strong enough spiritual pressure can push back and destroy this power. Again, that's assuming, he didn't go up against like someone with an ability that could work against, who could counter that. Someone with like an energy absorption ability or something like that. And that was a pretty powerful ability. It took Kenpachi actually releasing his eye patch to break out of there, but he ultimately did. So then the question becomes, what does the Bankai of this Zanpakuto look like? Well, right out of the gate, I think we can say that it's very unlikely that the Zanpakuto itself changes shape. When you actually look at the Zanpakuto of Kido users, particularly Kido-based Zanpakutos, the Shikai or sealed state of the sword very rarely, if ever, changes. Just looking at a couple real quick. With Kiraku, that's very much it makes children's games a reality, but it's very much a Kido-based Zanpakuto. When going into Bankai, it doesn't change its form. When you look at, technically, I guess you could use Zenbon Zakura as an example. It's not really Kido, but it's also not melee. It's a weird mix. Its Bankai is just a much more, it's just larger version of that. Benihime, Kanenburake Benihime Atarame, it creates the giant marionette behind him, but Benihime Shikai looks the exact same. I know there's maybe another one I can use for this example too. Ichibe's Ichimanji. It doesn't really change shape. The only thing that changes is the blade disappears, and instead it's like this giant energy of like Kita or energy that renames you. So yeah, so I don't think this would be one of those scenarios where the blade would change, and if it does change, it wouldn't be a drastic change. It wouldn't be Ichigo Zangetsu going to Tenshin Zangetsu level of change. So what then does the Bankai of gotta get that name, Nijigasumi? Well, what would it look like, and what would it do? What it would look like, I would imagine really that there's two ways to look at this. One, because we've seen Bankais that cloak the user. We've never seen a Bankai and we've seen Bankais actually alter the user as well. Zaraki's is actually, I think, really, that's not the only example. Rukia's does that too. But because it returns brings her body to absolute zero. So there's two possibilities here. One, the entire area is now complete, like with the entire. It's similar to Tozen's Bankai, which is kind of what Saigyoku Nijigasumi is, but in a different way, creating an entire area of effect where it's nothing but a dome of light, and he manipulates the light in that area. Or two, it's A, B, 1, 2, whatever. Or B, it's something where he'd either cloak himself in light and basically become light. It's like he would become light. And the question then becomes, is he light speed at that point? Does he have no physical mass similar to, honestly, does he become like Lily Barrow at that point, where he's a being now composed of solidified light, if you want it, but you can't really do any melee damage to him. All your basic damage just phase right through him. And see, that's a good question, because again, it's a non-canon Zanpakuto, so whether or not it's the strongest light-based Zanpakuto in the series, we don't know, because it doesn't actually exist in terms of the canon. And actually, light and dark-based Zanpakutos really don't exist. The only dark Zanpakuto we know of is Ichibe's. So there's probably a light-based Zanpakuto that exists counter to Ichibe's, at minimum. Who has it, if it'll ever show up in their own history, who knows? Maybe this guy does exist. Maybe this is it. I don't really go with the whole turning the light Lily Barrow style idea of the Bankai. That, to me, first off, that comes off a little hacks. Not to say it couldn't exist as a Zanpakuto ability, but I don't see this Zanpakuto doing that. Not because it doesn't kind of make sense to some degree. It makes actually more sense than Lily Barrow just turning the light, when none of his abilities in any way, shape, or form gave the idea that he could do that. But more in the point of what we actually saw from the abilities doesn't really add up. I think more than likely what it is, it's a area of effect Zanpakuto. It's something akin to Tozen's, just much larger. Not necessarily much larger, but made of light instead of a dome that cuts off the senses and leaves you in darkness. So I would say it's probably a large area of effect where all of his abilities are just heightened because he's now surrounded by nothing but light. Probably with some added abilities too as well, because being a keto type and having the type of abilities he already has, means he probably will have stronger versions of those abilities in Bankai, and B, probably have other abilities as well that he can draw upon in Bankai. Similar to Ichibe, it could be something where it actually steals light. Like it robs light from an area and uses it to his advantage. Whereas Ichibe's Ichimonji steals darkness. Everything has a bit of darkness, as he puts it, and he basically can steal that and power himself up. So, yeah, ultimately, I would say that's probably along the lines of where Nijigasumi lies in terms of a Bankai. It really becomes a little tricky when you get to Zanpakutos that A, don't necessarily have the most defined power set, or B, don't really have, what's the best way to put this second part? Have abilities and power sets that are defined, but don't really give you an idea of where they can go from there. This one kind of falls into the latter. It's like, okay, he manipulates light. We see a bunch of stuff with manipulation of light. Nothing that really does anything to Zaraki, and by that extension, by that admission, probably wouldn't have been able to take on many of the other captains either. But ultimately, it's still got room to grow. It's still got room for possibility. That being said, again, that Saigyoku Nijigasumi technique, quite frankly, makes sense for the Bankai. I'm amazed that wasn't his Bankai, to be quite frank. In fact, I could honestly see someone just say, yeah, no, we'll just alter that. That was his Bankai. So, there you go. Okay, yeah, whatever. Anyway, that's my thought on Nijigasumi. I'm going to be amazed how many, if more than 50 people watch this video, because, let's be honest, this is not a character a lot of us cared about that much. Again, if he were canon and maybe they brought him in later on in the series and it's like, oh, I was a bad guy, now I'm a good guy and I'm fighting on the right side, we get to see a couple battles with him, maybe show off a Bankai. I think because it gives off a Shuhei vibe. Honestly, though, if you look at his face, change his hairstyle, it's just Ichiko's face. Really look at that for a second. That's just Ichigo's face with a different hairstyle and color. So there you go. But yeah, I think we could have gotten like a Shuei type character out of him, and Shuei ended up being kind of pretty cool. He got shafted in Thousand Year Blood War, arc, but he honestly got his redemption in the Can't Fear Your Own World light novels, which I know those technically aren't canon, but a lot of people consider them canon. I kind of fall into that regard as well. I consider that canon. The Can't Fear Your Own, the Spirits Are Always With You, not necessarily, but that's still a fun story in many regards. Kenpachi versus Kenpachi, that was awesome. There's some cool stuff in there, to be sure. Anyway, I digress. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. And ideas for who would win, Star Wars, Superhero, Magic, what if. Anything I do in the channel, put that down below. I'll get to that at some point. So I got to do the what if. I got home late last night because I saw a movie. I can still go out and see movies. So I'm doing the what if today instead. I got time. It's fine. And I still got the Captain video, the 20 strongest Captain Rank Shinigami videos. By the by, once I get done with either the Zanpakuto theory videos or the Captain videos, probably the Captain video first. Well, actually, I might, at the rate I'm going, I might run out of Zanpakutos. I will continue to do Bleach videos, because I'm just having fun doing it. I've got plenty of ideas for Bleach videos to do, different series to do. So, yeah, don't worry if you're like, no, it's over. Don't worry, there'll be more stuff. But I'll also get back to doing some other videos, like some discussion videos, some other best to worst, worst to best videos, because I just haven't gotten around to doing those in a while, and I have a lot of fun doing those. So these are kind of supplementing us for now, but I really enjoy talking Bleach. So it is one of my favorite animes and mangas. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you folks later.